Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington. We are an intentionally welcoming congregation, open to people of all backgrounds, races, genders, sexual orientations, and abilities. My name is Burke Kapler, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. Today is Sunday, December 20th, and there's a lot going on. For our Christian neighbors, this is the fourth Sunday of Advent, the last of 4 Sundays of waiting and hoping for the birth of Jesus. Also, tomorrow is the winter solstice. At 5:02 a.m., winter will officially start. And tomorrow evening, you may see the Christmas star, a rare conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn that will look like one giant celestial body. And of course, it's only 4 shopping days until Christmas, or maybe 5 if you like to take risks. We're busy here at UUCA too. Although you've probably seen our email notices or the church's website, this is just a quick reminder that we'll be having 3 virtual services for Christmas. First, at 4 p.m. on Christmas Eve, we'll have the best Christmas pageant ever, which is what it is actually called and what it will actually be. Following the pageant, we'll have an ugly sweater reception, where you can show off your favorite sweater, ugly or not. Again, at 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve, for our second service, we'll have our Christmas Jazz Vespers service, creating our own silent night. There will be a Zoom coffee hour before the service at 8 p.m. Our third service is on Christmas Day. At 11 a.m., we'll have our Christmas Day lessons and carols, traditions for this moment, followed by a Zoom coffee hour. We hope you'll be able to join us for some or all of these services. Plus, don't forget about our drive-up snow globe and mitten tree from December 20th through December 24th. This is a favorite tradition for UUCA. This year, you can stop by the lower level of the church to drop off gloves, hats, scarves, and yes, mittens, to decorate a tree and to take some pictures. And Moonfire will be celebrating the winter solstice today. Please check our website at uucava.org under Holiday Happenings for more information and for Zoom links to these events. And yet, with all this going on, we can't deny that this year is different. This holiday season has already been a lot quieter and lonelier than usual. No holiday parties, no get-togethers with folks outside our pods, no travel. And we can't forget that for many of us and our neighbors, this Christmas is truly bleak, our resources strapped, with little hope for the new year. It's times like these that make me glad to be part of this community. Through UUCA, I can connect with others, sharing our joys and our concerns, even if it's virtual. I can find inspiration and meaning from our services or just deep conversations. And I can help make the world better through our many social justice programs. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, we hope you find the same and more at UUCA. Please join us after the service for our virtual coffee hour. Welcome, and thank you for being with us today.
Good morning, everyone. I'll be reading an excerpt from a piece by Richard S. Gilbert's In the Holy Quiet of this Hour, called When Life is Messy. It is easy to pray when the sun shines and we are grateful for another glorious day of being. It is hard to pray when wind and rain and thunder plague our every step and spoil our every plan. It is hard to be virtuous when life assaults us, and our very being is a pilgrimage from bad to worse to worst. O God of order and neatness, we give thanks for all that is good. We are grateful for manifold blessings bestowed upon us. O God of chaos and disorder, be with us also when life is messy. Bless our coming in and going out from this day forth. Come, let us worship together. In honor of ancient traditions that celebrate this time coming up of the longest night, we observe that the flaming chalice holds the elements of the four directions: earth, air, fire, water. The lamp oil for the earth, the air that feeds the flame, the fire we light, and the chalice itself, the cup, the symbol of water. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to the world.
Hey, see, it's so bright, it's so cool.
This morning, we light the candles of love, hope, joy, and peace. This week, may you find and create the peace of a starry, silent night.
Stars keep the watch when night is dim. One more night the ocean brim, shining beyond the frosty weather, bright as sun and moon together. People look east and sing today, love, the star is on the way.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Walter, and I'm here for our Time for All Ages segment. You'll notice I've got my lights going. I've got all of my candles lit. This is the time of year where we really celebrate light. We've got our menorah, which Hanukkah has already finished up, but I've got all 8 of the Hanukkah candles lit for the menorah. You've also noticed Reverend Amanda at the beginning of services lighting the Advent wreath, and I've got my Advent wreath here, but I've also got all of its candles lit as well, even though we're technically not through Advent. And of course, The flame we light every Sunday is our chalice. I have my own little chalice here. Tomorrow is the solstice. It's the longest night of the year. And it seems that when it gets dark and when it gets cold, we crave the light, bringing it into our world in any way possible. And there's this wonderful story about a church, a Unitarian church in Transylvania, and how they brought light not only into their church, but into their hearts. And I think you'll really like it.
Many years ago, in the land of Transylvania, in a mountain valley watered by quick rushing streams and shadowed by great forests of beech trees, there was a village of small wooden houses with dark shingled roofs. The people in the village were of the Unitarian religion, and they wanted a church of their own. A church set in the hillside, they decided, looking down upon the village, as a mother looks down upon her sleeping child. So all the people in the village labored long and hard to build themselves a church. The stonemasons hammered sharp chisels to cut great blocks of gray stone, then set the stones into stout and sturdy walls. The glaziers made tiny glass panes and fitted them neatly into the windows with leaded lines. The foresters sawed tall beech trees into enormous beams and laid the trusses for the ceiling, then covered the roof with close-fitting wooden shingles that wouldn't leak a drop of rain. The carpenters carved wood for the pair of wide opening doors, setting them on strong pegs so that the doors hung straight and square. A bell was brought from a far-away city, then hoisted by ropes with a heave and a hoe to the top of the tower. The weavers wove fine cloths for the altar table, cloths embroidered with flowers and edged with lace. The smiths hammered black iron into tall lamp stands, and hammered thin bronze into shining oil lamps. Finally, when the building of the church was done, the painting of the church could begin. The painters mixed bright colors, royal red and shimmering gold and brilliant blue, and everyone in the village, old and young, women and men, boys and girls, came to decorate their church. They painted flowers, they painted trees, they painted designs around the windows and different designs around the doors. And at the end of the day, when it was finished, when their church was finally done, all the people of the village stood back to admire it, and then to sing a song of happiness and praise. Their village had a church now, a church set on the hillside, looking down upon the village as a mother looks down upon her sleeping child. "We will eat now," announced an elder of the village, because everyone was hungry after a long day's work, "and later tonight we will come back to pray." So the people of the village went down the hillside to their homes and their suppers, all except one little girl named Zora and her father, who stayed behind. They had brought their own bread and cheese. They ate their food slowly, sitting on the grass on the hillside and admiring their new church with its strong stone walls, its tall tower, and its magnificent bell. After they had eaten, they went back inside, opening those carved wooden doors to go into the gloriously painted sanctuary inside. "Oh, look, Father!" Zora cried, running from picture to picture with her footsteps echoing off the stone walls. "See how grand!" "Yes, it is," said her father, looking around and nodding with pride. "Yes, it is." "But, Father," she said suddenly, "we have not finished." "What do you mean?" "There are tall iron lampstands all along the walls, but there are no lamps. The church will be dark when the people come back." "Ah, no, little one," said her father. "The light of the church comes from its people. You shall see." He rang the bell to call the people to worship, then took his daughter by the hand and led her back outside. They waited on the grassy hillside next to their beautiful church of strong gray stone. The sun had set behind the mountains and night was coming soon. Yet in the glowing darkness, tiny points of light came from many directions and moved steadily up the hill. Each family is entrusted with a lamp, little one, her father explained. Each family lights its own way here. Where's our family lamp? Your mother is carrying it. She'll be here soon. The many lights moved closer, gathering into one moving stream, all headed the same way, growing larger and brighter all the time. Zora's mother arrived bearing a burning oil lamp in her hands. The father lifted Zora so she could set their family's lamp high in its tall iron stand. All around the church, other families were doing the same. Soon the church was ablaze with light in every corner, for all the people of the village had gathered to pray and sing. All through the worship service, Zora watched the lights flicker and glow. She watched her family's lamp most of all. When the service was over, her father lifted her high. She took the shining bronze lamp from the lampstand. Its curved sides were warm and smooth in her hands. Her mother carried the lamp home with the flame, lighting the way. The lamp flame lit their house when they returned home. Zora washed her face and got ready for bed by the light of that flame. "Mother," Zora began, as she climbed into bed and lay down. "Yes, little one," her mother asked, tucking the red wool blanket around Zora's shoulders. "Father said the light of the church comes from its people." "Yes." "But also the people take their light from the church." Over on the table by the fireplace, the shiny bronze lamp was still burning. "And we have that light every day." "Yes, indeed," said her mother. "And even when we are not in church, even when the lamp is not lit, we carry the light of truth in our minds and the flame of love in our hearts to show us the right way to be. That light, the light from truth and love, will never go out." "Never?" asked Zora. "Never," said her mother. "And this bronze lamp will last for many, many years. When you are grown, you will give the bronze lamp to your children, and when they are grown, they will give the lamp to theirs, and all of you will carry it back and forth to church every time." "But there is only one lamp," said Zora. "So make another, and let the light grow, and some day tell your children to make more lamps too. And now, good night," her mother said, and kissed Zora once on this cheek, and once on that cheek, and once on the forehead. Zora closed her eyes and drifted into dreams, while her mother looked down upon her sleeping child. The years passed. Zora grew. The bronze lamp came into her care. She kept it polished and clean, and when the bell rang out across the valley to call the people to worship, she carried the lamp back and forth to the church on the hillside, the flame always lighting her way. When the time came, she made more lamps and gave them to her children, who made more lamps and gave them to their children. And so it went on through the years, even until today. And always the light of truth and the flame of love from that Unitarian church on the hillside continued to grow and show them and us the way.
You'll notice how the families in our story all took their lights into the church and then brought them home with them. Isn't that right, Doug? And the great thing about that light is it symbolizes all of the truth we learned, just like the mother said in the story. That the lights help us see the way which to go forward and remind us about what's important in our lives. The lights, when it's dark, help us see where we need to go. I hope you enjoyed seeing all the pictures from where we house our light, our sanctuary that we all miss so much. But I know that each one of you, children and adults alike, carry that light that may be housed physically in our sanctuary in each and every one of your hearts. And I hope you share that light for the rest of your lives with everybody you meet around you. Blessed be.
Recording sermons ahead of time is such a funny thing. Not only because, of course, things can change between the time of recording and the time when you receive the sermon, but also because what has happened just at the moment when I am to begin recording inevitably affects how I'm feeling. Sometimes that is something silly or goofy. Sometimes it's my children running in and out of the porch or the back door as I frantically text them, "I'm about to start recording. Please stop banging things." Today, it is the news that I have been reading just before sitting down to speak with you. News that gangs of white people, mostly men, many affiliated with the Proud Boys, have been marching through D.C., burning banners at historically black churches and elsewhere, including Asbury, UMC, and Luther Place, where I've gathered with interfaith colleagues to organize for justice in years past, and at Metropolitan AME, where a dear friend of mine is a member and my colleague Bill Lamar serves as senior pastor. And so as I begin this sermon on stillness, on how to find stillness and how to embrace it, I am thinking of the violence of those acts. I am imagining how it feels to my friends to see their churches and their lives so disrespected and reviled. I am thinking about the hard times that we are in and have been in as a country. But you know, come to think of it, that was on my mind anyway. I am surrounded these days by beauty in my own home. We have decorated with intensity this year. Every ornament is on the tree. All the houses in the little Christmas village are out, the cars arranged just so. The stockings are hung by the chimney with care, the whole 9 yards. For the first time ever, we have outside lights up, or at least we are hoping to have outside lights up should we be able to finally get them draped artistically over our front door. It feels like we are seeking anything that will bring light into our own lives and into the lives of those that pass by our home. And of course, it's always that way at these times. The winter solstice is tomorrow. The days are short. The skies are often gray. And so we are reaching out at sunny days and at moments of connection. We are also many years talking about this time about how busy the season is. All the parties and the rushing around and the travel and the traffic and the clogged highways. This year is not quite that way. For so many of us, this year is a quiet one. And although there can be beauty in that, there is also sadness and loss. We have been exploring over the month of December the theme of stillness. And I have been thinking then about how different stillness feels when we are choosing it, when we are setting aside little moments for prayer or breath. Right now, it feels instead as though we are in a kind of stillness that has been forced upon us. And not just stillness, really, but perhaps suspended animation, just waiting for what will come next. And the waiting this Advent season doesn't exactly feel excited and hopeful, does it? All through these past 7-8 months, COVID has felt to me something like a roller coaster ride. I should note, I do not like roller coasters. It feels as though we are riding the waves of grief and then of okayness and maybe even moments of coziness, and then waiting for the next wave. The next wave of infections, the next wave of filled up ICUs, the next wave simply of our own worry and loss and fear, our own doneness with it all. This winter, we all expect, is going to be a hard one. Whether it is because we are increasingly isolated and lonely, our movements limited. And I want in this moment to send a special message of care to those of you who are at Goodwin House and at other continuing care and assisted living communities, where I know that you are either in a tighter restriction already or soon to be there. I want you to know how much I am thinking of you right now, and how much all of us in the wider world are wishing we could be with you, visiting and holding your hands. Whether it is because of those limited movements, that isolation, because we lose people we love, or simply because we see the death toll mounting in our country. This waiting, this time of stillness, this suspended animation, it feels like no other year. It is like no other year this December. And then again, tomorrow is the winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere. Sometimes I think that winter solstice may be my favorite holiday because around the world, 6 months apart, of course, nearly every culture and tradition has noticed it, marked it in some way. And how could they not? What could be more present, more simultaneously human, and at the exact moment deeply cosmic than the loss of the sun? The darkening days, the longer nights, the wondering. Even when we know exactly the precise moment when the sun will return, we still count and wait, and in some old, barely remembered part of our ancestral brain, we wonder, will there be light again? The winter solstice binds us across traditions and cultures. You have a chance to mark it in ancient and new ways tonight with UUCA's Moonfire as they hold their online solstice ritual at 7 p.m. And all around the world, people will be marking it, whether with ritual and tradition or simply with noticing. Here we are, going through a passage, heading toward a longer day, or in the southern hemisphere, the opposite, a doorway of sorts. We are also, of course, in the Christian time of Advent, a time that is marked in many Unitarian Universalist congregations. Advent comes, of course, for us in the Northern Hemisphere during the time of winter solstice, thanks to syncretism, the melding of pagan and Christian traditions, and the connection of myth and belief to the rhythms of the year. And Advent invites us into the same kind of waiting. Each week the candles are lit for love, for hope, for joy, this week for peace. Each week a little closer to the promise that Jesus' life brings to the Christian world. But even then, the story of Christmas, the story of Jesus' birth, isn't one of immediate victory. It's the story of the birth of hope, the beginning of possibility. A hope that must be protected from danger even in its infancy. A hope that lives on in the community and in the potential of a new beloved kingdom. A new kingdom of God. Here among us and always just beyond. Advent, solstice, the promise of Hanukkah lights, the value of Imani or faith, all point us to something hopeful that is not yet here. And even in this moment, I can feel that. Even this year. I can feel it in the Black churches who have withstood violence before and who continue their message of inclusive love and justice-seeking power. I can feel it in the white anti-fascists who use their bodies to shield their siblings of color on the streets of DC last weekend. I can feel it in the news of the vaccine coming, worked for by so many scientists around the world. I can feel it in the promise that the first to receive that vaccine will be the medical professionals who have been caring for the ill at risk of their own lives. I can feel that hope persists. Not yet here, but almost. I can feel the possibility, at least, of good things to come. The reminder that the sun does return each year, and I can begin to settle into the waiting of this time. And to imagine that we might wait both with fear and also with quiet hope. That my waiting to see beloved family will one day come to an end. My waiting to see all of you, to be with you, no screens dividing us. And I wonder, what are you waiting for this season? Will you join me now here in the spirit of prayer and meditation to take a moment to choose the stillness, to breathe into it. Spirit of life and love, you are with us as we wait. You are with us as we wait for hope, as we wait for justice, as we wait for beauty, as we wait for love. Spirit of life and love, you wait with us. None of us is alone in this time. Friends, I invite you right now to share in the chat, to say to your companion if you are watching with someone else, to write on a piece of paper or to hold in your heart what you are waiting for. What hope, perhaps just out of reach, do you yearn for? What is waiting to be birthed in your life, in the world, this Advent season? What sun and warmth do you hope will return this solstice? What miracle did you long for when you lit the Hanukkah candles? I invite you to share now here with each other, with the gathered community. I invite you to share with us at pastoralcare@uucava.org. I invite you to reach out and tell someone what you are waiting for. Spirit of life and love, you are with us in our waiting. I am imagining right now across and behind time and looking forward to the moment when we will watch this together. I am imagining all that you might be sharing in this moment or holding quietly in your mind. All that you have filling up your waiting heart. And I wonder if this time of quiet and dark might not be a gift after all. In the stories we associate with solstice, we often focus on the return of the light. But there is a beauty in the hunkering down. There is a beauty in the people gathering together, lanterns in hand, coming close during the longest, darkest night. There is a beauty even in the worrying together, in the reaching out for hands, for Zoom connections, for emails, because we know we need each other. My favorite part of the day in December is when it's still dark in the morning. I sneak downstairs as quietly as I can in my pretty creaky old house. And I sit on the sofa with only the light of the tree and the light coming through those little tiny Christmas village windows. And I think of who might be awake in the houses and apartments up and down my street, sitting in the dark and waiting. My friends, we didn't get to choose this moment of quiet, this stillness, this time of suspended animation. We didn't get to choose this waiting, and we surely didn't choose the loss and the grief and the worry that accompany it. But we do get to choose what we do while we are here. In this time of Advent, this time leading up to the return of the sun, physical and metaphorical. We get to choose what it means to be waiting together, how we build our strength during this time, how we root down perhaps into the ground, drawing inward like seeds, waiting to grow again. I think that is true for each of us individually, and it's also true for our congregational community too. Sometime from now, the sun of our reopening will shine, I promise, one day. And how we have stayed connected, how we have held each other during this time of waiting, how we have reached out and accepted another's outreach, how we have worked for justice and for a return not to normal but to better, it will all matter. How we are when we are apart, the care we show, will matter when we are together. Even the choice itself to wait will matter. As wise people have said, we stay apart now so that when we come together, we can all be there. Over the years, I have found wisdom in narrative therapy. Narrative therapy invites us to claim the stories of our lives and to tell them in ways that empower us, that acknowledge the complexity and all of the truth in them, acknowledge the loss or the grief, but that also invite us into joy and possibility and strength. By telling our stories, sometimes by telling them differently, by choosing how we tell them, we can change how those stories shape our future. You can tell the story of the solstice, the story of the longest night, as one of cold and fear, of silent, awful, lonely waiting. And that's true. It's a true story. And you can also tell it as a story of the fallow time, the time of quiet growth, the time of hearts connected through the dark, wrapped in a bit of mystery and a little starlight, waiting for whatever might come. And that's a true story, too. We didn't choose this time of stillness and waiting. But we can choose to wait together. Friends, I am imagining hand in hand when we are able. I am imagining eyes connected to each other. And I know that in this time of quiet waiting, in this time of stillness, there is a true story to be told. The story that we wait, we work, we love together. May it be so for all of us this world over, and for you.
When darkness leaves and embers die, the wind in trees a distant sigh, the end of day like a lover's voice nearby. The night grows close, a fond embrace, the heart then soars its frantic pace, and fidget soft as a comrade takes its place. The end of day, the passing year, the rush of time, it caused no fear. We love the night and its mystery now so near.
Over the past few years, especially the past few months, we have acknowledged that we are the church. All of us together create beloved community. We may be away from our building for a while, but we find sanctuary in each other. The work in our communities continue through covenant groups, religious education, the music program, and our social justice ministries, our pastoral care team, and many more endeavors. The mission of this congregation continues through these difficult times when we realize how very important it is to be a part of a community. By giving to UCA, you contribute to the spiritual center that keeps us all connected. You support all of us and our collaborative efforts to make a difference in our community. You can make a check payable to UUCA with the word offering or pledge in the memo line. You can also give online at the church website, uucava.org. Just click on the donate button on the top of the page. Or you can donate by text, or you can donate by using the mobile app, Give Plus. Just enter the zip code 22204 and choose our church, UUCA, and follow the prompt to give now. Our offertory prayer reminds us, let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. Let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others.
It came upon the
The world in solemn stillness lay to hear the angels sing. Friends, this year we must be the angels, singing through the stillness, singing to each other, singing for justice and peace and love, as though our lives depended on it. For believe me, they do. May it be so. Amen.